She's pregnant as well.
How far along?
14, 15 weeks.
It's crazy to believe when somebody can murder their own family just to start a new one. Like, who the heck in their right mind? Like, why don't you just divorce? Pregnant Shanann Watts was strangled to death by her husband, Chris Watts. He also strangled his daughters or their daughters. It was a whole mess. He decided to do that just so that he could live a life, allegedly live a life with his mistress because he was having an affair. And he ended up burying Shanann on his oil field that he used to work at. And then also threw his two daughters in an oil tank. I don't know how he got the courage or was able to do this, and how as a father, that's your blood. Like, how are you? I'm not laughing at the situation, but I'm laughing at the fact that it's like, who in their right mind can do something like this, and why? So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the Watts family and how did Chris Watts, as a father of two girls married to a beautiful pregnant wife, was able to kill them at such a very fast pace just because he was having an affair and he met somebody new and he thought that he wanted to start a new life, allegedly. So we'll get into it. Viewer and listener discretion is advised. This episode contains discussion of sensitive topics that may be distressing for some audiences. Please take care while listening, and if these topics are triggering for you, we encourage you to prioritize your well-being. Welcome to Taste the Tea podcast. My name is Teresa, and in this podcast, we talk about true crime. So if you're interested in true crime, please subscribe, like, comment, and if you're interested in that, please check out my previous episodes. They're going to be a little bit different, but you can check them out for more true crime. Okay, so it's a little bit different. I'm a little bit nervous because we rebranded. If you have been here or if this is your first video, well, before it was called before it was called T&E with the T. Now, we rebranded. Me and Edwin, we just decided that it was just best for us to break up. No, I'm just joking. No. We're in a very happy relationship. Everything is great with us. But we just felt like this podcast, it was a lot for him because he has his own business. He opened a salon named Meraki, or he owns a salon named Meraki, and he just renovated and they expanded and everything. So he has been working really hard. So I felt like it would be best for him to just continue focusing on his career and me focus on mine. We support each other and everything would be great. So so it was a little sad for me, especially because I had to start all over. But I mean, not technically, but I had to rebrand. But it's totally fine. We're really happy. He was very sad as well because he really enjoyed being on the podcast, but like I said, it was very hard, especially we would do the videos late at night. So so it wasn't fair for him and it wasn't fair for me. So we decided to do that. So I rebranded. So now we're Taste of Tea Podcast, and I have a new mic thanks to my dad. So he got me this mic, so I wanted to try it today. So I have a new setup as well. If you're watching on YouTube, yeah, so it's different. I have a coffee area, and we have coffee because murder is wrong. So yeah, so this is my new setup. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Let me know if you want me to change anything. If you like the mics before, if you watch my previous episodes, or if you like the new setup, or if you like the old setup, please let me know. So I can, adjust some things. But yeah, so let's continue onto the story. We're going to talk about the Watts family, okay? So, from the outside, it looked like a perfect family. They literally were living the dream family life. From the outside, at least. Everyone fell in love with Shanann because she was basically going on live on Facebook all the time. Because she used to work for this company named Thrive. So basically, it's a sales company. So she would sell products. And so she would go on live and update people on things on the company, or like try to get people to buy the products and stuff like that. But also she would talk about her personal life. So she would talk about her marriage with Chris, her kids, her two daughters. And it was basically, I mean, from the way she explained it, it was basically perfect. She even opened up to like her people, or to her followers, that she had lupus and she was struggling with that. So it was like if it was her own journal, basically, and that she was just FaceTiming her friends. So on these stories, lives, or posts, she would talk about Watts, and she would talk about him very nicely. Like she would say how perfect he was, how yeah, how good of a husband he was, how good of a father he was. And it was definitely something that when the situation happened, we kind of already know what happened, but it surprised people because of how perfect he sounded like. Everybody viewed him as a perfect husband, a perfect father, because of all the videos that Shanann would post on Facebook, and how she would talk about him. So it was a very like, how did he get from here to there? Like, what the hell? So it was just really weird and just unexpected. But anyways, so that happened. When they first met, they met in 2010. This was on Facebook. So he decided to follow her, and she didn't think anything of it. She was just like, "Oh, he followed me, like whatever. Let me follow back. Like he's a friend. I have a lot of friends on Facebook, so he's just another one. Like we're never gonna meet." So one thing led to another, and they ended up, messaging each other, and the rest was history. They ended up getting married 2 years later. So 2 years after like meeting and everything. And they move. So they were at that moment in North Carolina. They both live in North Carolina. They ended up moving to Colorado. They fell in love with the state. They fell in love with the city. They just felt like this was their place. So they decided to move there. And when they moved there, they had a baby girl named Bella. Later on, a year later, they had Cece. They were living a beautiful life in Colorado. Chris was working as a operator in an oil and gas drilling company, which was called Anna Darko Pro. This is the only thing that I'm gonna miss. But not the only thing. I'm gonna miss Edwin being by my side, but I'm also gonna miss him helping me read the words. That's something that I like want to apologize, like off the bat. I am very bad with reading words, or like pronunciating words. I think I have a speech impediment. I think that's what is how you say the word. I don't even know if that's how you say it. But anyways, I have a speeching I have a speech problem. I feel like I do. I know I'm dyslexic. I have never been diagnosed though. But anyways, it's called Darko. I'm gonna try my best, okay? Darko Petroleum. Okay, I think that's what it is. But anyways, so he worked a really good job. I mean, he was able to, help provide for the family very well, and he got this job, and it was a really good opportunity. So then Shanann, she worked from home. So she was able to get that opportunity to stay home to take care of her kids. And yeah, so like I said in the very beginning, she was doing sales. She worked for a company named Thrive, and she was selling products. And that's all she did. She was a wonderful mother to her two daughters, and she was a wonderful person from the videos that I've watched the videos that she posted on Facebook and the lives and stuff like that. And she seemed like a very beautiful, bright person. And she would share like of deep emotions and her personal life. And it just seemed like she was a very open book, and I admire that. And because there's not a lot of people that are able to open up about their life off the bat, especially on social media. So definitely admire that of her. And yeah, so she seemed like a really great person, but that was their life. So that's basically it. So it seems like a dream. This is a fun fact, but she had literally built her whole house, her own house in, I believe, North Carolina on her own. She had gotten through a divorce or a breakup, and it really broke her and it made her feel really insecure. And she was like, you know what? I'm gonna, make my own money. I'm gonna work really hard and I'm gonna build my own home. So she did that. Literally, this house looks like a mansion. It's huge. It looks like 3 stories. I don't know if it is, but it looks like 3 stories from the pictures. But yeah, so that was their life. And it was crazy, noticing how, you know, perfect their life was in a way. From the outside, at least. Nobody's perfect, or no life's is perfect, but it just seemed that way. But, we wouldn't be here if it was a perfect family or a perfect life. So Chris, while working at the oil company, he had met this girl named Nicole Kessinger. Okay. So Nicole was a coworker. They met in the beginning of June of 2018. Now, this is where I'm like, okay, it's so sad because how common this is when spouses like tend to meet someone from work and they fall in love and then they ended up having an affair. It's sad that this is very common. And so I wasn't very surprised that, the the mistress, or the girl that he was having an affair with, was from work, because like I said, this is very common, sadly. But yes, so Nicole Kessinger, she was a coworker. She was contracted by the company that Chris was working at. And so they met early in June of 2018, June, end of May, beginning of June, around there. And well, throughout 2015 through 2018, Chris had changed physically, like a big change. He went from, being a little chubby, being a little bit, I think he was like 245 pounds, he said, um, when he married um Shanann. And then all of a sudden, he started working out, he started losing weight, and he ended up getting down to 180 pounds. And so you know how that is. They start getting confident. They start feeling like, okay, maybe I can still flirt with some girls. What if I can still, like, what if I still have the game, or whatever they say? What do they say? They say something like, can I still pool, or something like that? I'm sorry. I'm old. um that probably sounds cheesy. But yes, so that's probably what he was thinking, right? Because he had lost a lot of weight, he got toned, he got fit, and he looked attractive. So obviously, when he sees another pretty woman, he probably thought, oh, I can get her. So this is what happened. They met the beginning of June or the end of May. And when that happened, he immediately felt like some sort of connection. He felt like this is like a person that I want to get to know. Immediately off the bat, he caught her eye. I mean, she caught his eye, and this is what he said. She took my breath away. So it's crazy because it seems like he was already probably checked out from his relationship, his marriage with I keep saying Shazam, Shanann, um, which is crazy. Because it's like, what was going on there? Now, after they met, they started talking. They started kind of flirting, not talking immediately like through text, but like talking while they were at work. So whenever they see each other, they kind of flirted with each other when they would talk. But it was nothing serious at that point. It was, from what Chris says and from what Nicole says, it was something very casual. They were flirting, but it wasn't like, oh, they were trying to pursue something from the beginning. So they say. Oh, sorry. So they say, right? But anyways, now they meet, right? That they're flirting or whatever. Now it gets to June 11th, and Shanann ends up recording a video that she posts on Facebook, and she's wearing a shirt that says, "Oops, we did it again." And Chris comes into the kitchen, because she's in the kitchen recording this, and Chris kind of laughs. It kind of seems awkward, but anyways, he laughs, and she shows him a pregnancy test that she is pregnant. So they did it again. They are having a third baby.
We did it again. I like that shirt. Really?
Really?
That's awesome. So pink means...
That's just the test.
I know. It just says the pink is going to be girls.
I don't know. Just the test.
That's awesome. Guess when you want to, it happens.
And so, like I said, it seemed really awkward. Chris just seemed, his reaction was not very genuine. It just seemed like, oh shoot, like what did I get myself into? Like, mm, okay. But yeah, because he did talk about the situation, because they did, when they questioned him, they asked him about this video and then why wasn't he excited? And he felt like it might have been because he felt guilty already, because he was already kind of flirting. Sorry. Because he was already kind of flirting with Nicole at this point, and they were already like, interested in a way. So it felt like awkward, I guess, for him, knowing that, oh, I just got Nicole pregnant, but I'm falling for somebody else in a way. And he said that they had talked about, wanting to get pregnant or wanting to have another baby 2 to 3 weeks before they actually fell pregnant. And the thing is that before, the two girls that they had, it took a while for them to get pregnant because, like we said, or like I said, Shanann had lupus. So she was told that she was going to have a really hard time to have kids, if not ever have kids. So she was having a really hard time to get pregnant with her two daughters, but she ended up pregnant. And with this third one, she fell pregnant so quickly. Literally, like they had just talked about it 2 to 3 weeks before she fell pregnant. And he was really surprised as well. So it was like, oh shoot, it actually worked. Well, duh. What you mean you didn't pull it out, sir? Anyway, sorry. Continue. So yeah, so he finds out that they're pregnant, and then after that, the affair starts. The affair starts about the end of June to like the beginning of July, because in the beginning of July, Shanann ends up going to North Carolina to go visit her family with her two daughters. And Chris ends up staying. I don't understand why he ended up staying. I believe he probably made an excuse of like work or something, but he ended up staying. Now, if that was me, I'll be like, why? You coming with me? You not staying here? Like, what the hell? Like, I don't know. For me, it would just be weird. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know, because it's like, okay, what if they, he does have something to do for work or something like that, but it's like, I don't know. But anyways, she ended up going to North Carolina, but she went for 3 weeks. So it was a long period of time. But I mean, still like, whatever. But it was a long period of time. So he ended up staying. And throughout that time, that's when he started going out with Nicole. And he basically slept at her place like every single day while Shanann was gone. Um, that's crazy because they just started talking, but whatever. Shanann ended up calling him like a few times, and sometimes he wouldn't answer. He wouldn't answer FaceTime calls. He probably would, I mean, he wouldn't even call her. He wouldn't call the kids to see how they were, anything like that. And Shanann obviously was upset. So she ended up texting him, like saying, like, hey, you haven't even called. You haven't even done this. And he was like very apologetic. So he was just like, sorry, I'm like sick or something. But anyways, he was like very apologetic, and he was just like, "Oh, I'm just so sorry. I really love you. I miss you. All this stuff. Like, I didn't hear my phone. It went through my work phone because he has two phones. He has a work phone and he has a personal phone. Personal phone. So he was like, yeah, the FaceTime went through my work phone, so I didn't get your call or whatever the case may be. I'll call you tomorrow morning and all this stuff." What the little does she know, he is at Nicole's place. He's staying at Nicole's place. Oh, I didn't mention this, but Nicole did know about his marriage. So he did tell her that he was married, but that he was in the process of separating. So they were in a they were going to do like a mutual divorce, which was not true. So because Shanann was pregnant. He also told Nicole that he had two daughters. So this was something that she already knew. So it wasn't like, she was just like cold turkey just in the relationship. She knew about the situation. But she was told by Chris that they were going to separate and they were not getting along, and it was just not working out, right? But we already know that that was not true. Oh, and then I also forgot to mention, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm over here like all over the place. But Chris was also not wearing his wedding ring because he had lost so much weight, so it wouldn't fit his finger anymore. Crazy, you can lose weight on your fingers. But yeah, so it wouldn't fit on his finger anymore, so he wouldn't wear his wedding ring. So at the beginning, she didn't think, she kind of believed it, the fact that they were going to be separating, him and his wife, when he did say that he had a partner, a significant other, because he wasn't wearing his ring anymore. So it made sense, right? So yeah, so now fast forward, Shanann goes on this trip with her daughters. And on this trip, you know, like I said, he wasn't calling her, he wasn't doing anything, he wasn't FaceTiming her, he wasn't texting her as much, and she felt like weird, like this is not him. He would, it would make sense if he was texting her like, how's the kids? Like, how are you? How are you, how's it going over there? All this stuff, but from what Shanann was saying, it wasn't like that. And from the messages, it didn't seem like that either. And there was not much calls between them. Shanann ended up celebrating Cece's birthday, their youngest daughter, her third birthday in North Carolina. And this was without Chris. And um, I don't know if he called or anything like that, but I know that he wasn't there for that. And then fast forward, Chris ends up flying to North Carolina on July the 31st, and he ended up staying there for a week. So when that situation, or when he went over there, Shazan ended up texting a friend and stating that he hasn't kissed her, but that once when he got to the airport, that they, there's nothing intimate going on in between them. Like, he hasn't touched her, he hasn't done anything, and so she felt off. She felt like, this is weird. Why aren't you, acting like my husband right now? So she had a really good point onto she had a gut feeling, that always trust your gut because it's always right. Not always, but most of the time. So yeah, so she felt like this was weird, and to her, she wanted to cry. She felt very like emotional about it because it's like she hasn't seen her husband in 5 weeks, and he doesn't want to like hold her. He doesn't want to, you know, basically me, what's the word? He doesn't want to basically like be intimate with his wife or anything like that. So it just felt weird. Um, which is, you're on the right path, Shanann. So yeah, so this was when she started thinking that, he's probably seeing somebody else for those 5 weeks, because how are you gonna come see me for 5 weeks and not want to hug me? She even had asked whenever they got back to Colorado, when they flew back, she had asked Chris, like, hey, are you sleeping with somebody else? Like, is something wrong? Because he still wasn't wanting to be intimate with her, and he denied. He was like, no, like, it's just like, either he was saying, I'm tired, or I just have a lot going on, or just not right now, blah blah blah. Like, but anyways, whatever. But yeah, so she was just feeling like something is off, and he was denying it. And then a few days before the murders of Shanann and the two girls, Shanann ended up going to a work trip. Now, when she went on this work trip, it was about 3 days, around 3 days. She went to Arizona, and it was from the 9th or the 10th of August to like the 13th of August, right? Before Shanann leaves, on this trip, Shanann ends up writing a little letter for Chris, and stating how much she misses him and how much she loves him, and that she would do anything to save her marriage, or to save their marriage. And it was like this beautiful letter. It was something that she was writing her feelings, her deep feelings. And he still went on that weekend to go see Nicole. Now, the fact that Shanann had to go through that is very insane and very sad. But yeah, so like, I don't understand how he didn't snap out of it and was like, hey, like, I have two beautiful girls. I have a perfect life. I have the perfect wife. Well, maybe for Chris, the thing is that in their relationship, Chris felt like he was not in control. Okay. Shanann was a very dominant person, and Chris was a very, you know, not so dominant person. And so he felt like he wasn't in control at times. He felt like he wasn't able to have a say in things. Now, with Nicole, he felt like he was in control. He felt like he was able to have a say. He felt like he was able to, like, that she heard him. She would listen to him. She would ask him for advice and all this stuff, and she would approve of his advice, or things like that. And so for him, it felt a bit different, but still. When you see those kids, or when you read that letter, I don't understand how it didn't switch in your mind and be like, what the hell am I doing? Let me stop. Like, my wife, loves me very much. I have these two beautiful girls. Let me, you know, Nicole, sorry, I don't want to be with you no more, or something like that. That's just crazy to me. But anyway, she leaves this letter and she says all those things. And Chris, like I said, ends up still hanging out with Nicole throughout the weekend. So he ends up getting a babysitter for the kids, and he goes out with Nicole, and he goes to like this nice restaurant. He uses the credit card that he shares with Shanann, which is so dumb because it's like she can see those transactions, sir. He talks about this moment. He's like, I guess it was just like, I guess for him, it was like a moment where it was like, I don't care anymore. It is what it is. It happened. Because for you to know that you guys share this credit card and she can see the transactions, it's like, I think you're not trying to hide this anymore, you know? But yeah, so he ends up doing that. She sees the transactions, and it's for sure that she sees the transactions because she ends up looking up the restaurant that they go to, and that shows in the search history that the investigators end up finding, right? So the weekend passes, and Shanann gets home. So this is the morning of the murders. So Shanann gets home on August 13th in the morning. So she gets dropped off by her best friend, Nicole Atkinson, at 2 a.m. This is shown in the door camera. You can see her going in and opening the door and everything. That's the last time we saw her go in that house. So according to Chris, that night, what had happened was that he felt her get into the bed at 2 in the morning, and he felt like she was staring around the room or something. So he kind of had the feeling that, she knew. She knew what was going on. She saw those transactions. She felt like she did. And he felt like, she was going to either confront him about it or something was going to happen. She doesn't say anything. She goes and rubs her hand on him, and they end up having intimate relations. An intimate relationship. They have sex. Sorry. But yes, so that's what happened. And then they go to sleep. Then Chris's alarm goes off, and Chris is about to go to the gym or work or something like that. But Chris has the urge to want to wake up Shanann and talk to her about their relationship or their marriage. And he wakes her up, and he basically has a conversation of wanting to have a divorce. And Shanann is like, I knew it. I knew that there was somebody else. Like, what happened about what was yesterday? Like, what is going on? Like, you're sleeping with somebody else. You're seeing somebody else. And he did not want to admit it. She was like, I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. You're never going to see their kids anymore. You don't touch me. Like, she was mad, and I would be too. But yeah, so she was really mad, and so he, for some reason, ends up climbing on top of her, and she's like, "Don't hurt the baby. Don't hurt the baby. You're gonna hurt the baby." And I guess she had a feeling that he was about to do something. I don't know if it was the look of on his face, but obviously because he was on top of her. But um she felt off, I guess, and he then strangles her. And he says she doesn't fight throughout the whole entire time that he's strangling her. He said that something just in him just snapped, and he doesn't know how or why. Mind you, Chris was not an aggressive person. He was not he was a very shy person. He was very quiet. He is an introvert. He never got angry. They never had arguments like this to where he wanted to lay his hands on her. She was always the one that was more like louder, more stronger character than he was. So for him to do something like this was very shocking to anyone, right? But for something in him snapped, and the fact that something in somebody can just do that, like you can just change your whole personality or change the way you were. It's just crazy to me, right? In just a split of a second, he felt like he couldn't let go. He felt like something was behind him that he just not could not let go, which is insane, because it's like you're literally choking somebody with your hands and realizing that it's your wife, knowing that it's your wife that you're choking. It's like, I don't know how you cannot let go, but I mean, nobody knows unless you're in that situation, but it's just insane to me. And so he gets off, he starts panicking after, after she's gone, and he gets off and he sees his daughter Bella come into the room, and Chris ends up telling Bella that mommy doesn't feel good. And so then he wraps Shanann in a sheet, and he brings her downstairs, and he ends up loading her into the truck. He puts her in the back of the truck on the floor, and we'll get into it, but then he packs in the truck with all the stuff that he needs. And then he grabs the girls and takes them, or puts them in the truck as well. What's so crazy to me is that he puts his daughters in the back seat where Shanann's body is on the ground, and their daughters are sitting there looking at their mom wrapped in a sheet. I don't understand this man. And they keep asking Chris, what's wrong with mommy? Like, is mommy okay? And he's like, yeah, everything's gonna be okay. She's okay, right? Or she's gonna be okay. This drive is 45 to an hour long of a drive, which is insane, because throughout that time you could have been thinking like, oh shit, what am I doing? Let me turn around, or why did I bring my daughters? Something like that. Or like, let me not do anything to my daughters. I don't know if he was thinking like through this whole entire ride, like, oh, I'm gonna, murder my daughters. But it's just the fact that he didn't think like, okay, what am I doing? Let me stop. Let me turn myself in for what I did and save my daughter's lives. But I think at that moment he also said that, from what I was listening to when he was being questioned, or when he was already in jail, the interview that he had, that he wanted to self-exit, and he felt like that was a moment. And it's just I don't know. I don't know what to think about that, but yeah. So he gets there, he gets to the field, and he takes out Shanann first, and he goes to Cece, and he grabs, well, mind you, let me just bring this up because I forgot, but Cece had a blanket, and Bella had her little stuffed dog, stuffed animal. And he goes to Cece first, and he grabs Cece's blanket, wraps it over her head, and suffocates her that way. Bella is watching, this whole entire time. She's just sitting there. And I'm assuming she's in shock, or probably not wondering, or not thinking, like, or doesn't know what's going on. So then he grabs the blanket from Cece's head and puts it over Bella. Bella ends up telling her dad, like, Daddy, no, Daddy, no. And all he remembers is that. And until, she stopped. And he suffocated her as well. I don't know how he had the ability to do that to his two daughters. Oh, I don't want to cry. Because literally, they were 3 and 4. Like, they were so tiny. And for you to have the ability to do that is, like, insane. But anyways, he ends up burying Shanann. he ends up burying Shanann. Um, and then he grabs Cece and Bella and throws their body into an oil tank. Uh, which is They ended up questioning Nicole Kessinger, the mistress that he had. And she had told him before to try him, as in Chris, to try to work on his relationship with Shanann, because she had went to his house one day when Shanann was not there and the kids weren't there. I think this is the time that she was in North Carolina. And she felt uncomfortable. She saw pictures of, you know, Shanann and the kids, and he was like, she basically thought to herself, oh, like, you have a beautiful wife, you have, the dream house, the dream kids, you have everything. Like, why don't you try to work on this marriage and forget about us? Which I don't know if that's true, to be honest. Because I'm like, girl, there's some things that you did is a little bit questionable. That don't seem like you told him to start over or to work on his marriage, but whatever. She states that, and he stated that he was going to go to North Carolina to probably work on things to her, to stated that to Nicole, which is not true because he never did. So she ends up stating that she didn't know about anything. She didn't know what he was going to do. She didn't know what had happened. But what's weird is that she had deleted messages between Chris and her and said that she felt disgusted because he lied to her, because she found out that Shanann was pregnant, and then um felt like her family or his family was in danger, because at that time she didn't, when she was thinking about this, at that time she didn't know what had happened yet, supposedly. But she said that she just felt disgusted and because he lied to her. So you delete the messages? Like, what the, I mean, I guess it makes sense, but it's like, it just seems odd because you delete the messages now. Anyways, yeah, so she, another thing that's really weird is that when they looked at her phone records, it indicates that she had went to the Watts family home on August 13th, 2018, which is the day of the murders. Why the hell was she at the house? And this was at 6:16 in the morning. Why was she there? She calls a friend named, basically, this is her the contact name. It's called, quote unquote, friend Jim. And she only calls him for 1 minute. And that was it. And this is when her phone pings at the location at the Watts family's home. And at 6 in the morning. And usually she calls Chris every morning at 5 in the morning to 5:30 every single day since they started talking. And for some reason that day she never called him, which is odd. And then she had stated that Chris had texted her in the morning and had told her that his family was gone, and to call her or to call him as soon as possible. She ends up calling him, but during that time, the police were already at the house. So he answered, he's like, hey, I'll call you later. And we see this in the body cam, which is crazy. She said that she didn't know anything. She didn't know what was going on. Allegedly, didn't she didn't go to work that day until 3 p.m. and then was only there for less than an hour and left. People say that, people say that she is seen on the camera footage of, what's his name? Chris packing the stuff in the truck, and he could see they can see like her ponytail or whatever, and see, I don't know if this is true. She was never arrested, so she was never charged for anything We don't know if she was actually involved or if she actually knew about the situation. But she ended up changing her name, and she was like no longer, nobody had seen her since then. So she was gone for like a very long time until literally 7 years later, this year, she was spotted in Montana at allegedly her friend's mother's funeral. And it's not confirmed, but it does look like her. I don't know if she was hiding or because of the situation, you know, people were thinking that she was probably involved. That's why she was hiding, but I don't know if it is, but you can figure out yourself. Chris is still in jail right now, and he was questioned in 2019 about the situation again and asked about what happened, and he went in depth. That was like a 4-hour long audio, which I listened to the whole thing, and it was just a lot of information, and it was just really sad to hear him say what he did to his family, literally word by word, and like scene by scene, what he did to them, which is insane to be able to say it out loud. I mean, it's one thing doing it, but then you got to say it out loud and relive that moment and realize what you did was horrible. Basically, you know, to your, not basically, but to your daughters and to your wife, your pregnant wife. It's insane. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was a lot of information, and I know I was all over the place, but it was a really sad one. I obviously cried, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I can't wait for you guys to see the next one. Okay, bye.